Okay, this is what the Bitcoin and the cryptocurrency computer, the physical computer equipment that runs that data across the planet. Okay? In that channel, it's the same components, mathematical, electrical function that can run missiles and shoot them off. Some of these missiles are launched from orbit, space, a stratosphere in orbit of the planet Earth. Some are launched from water. As well as ground, but ground is not too much in focus. How the satellites that orbit, that work with this weapons system, how they operate in this complex system was developed through your fiber optics and your cables that run on your ground here in your cities, all through your suburban houses, apartments, wherever you flick on your TV. Wi-Fi, yes, but the TV aspect, that data, that transference, that mathematical stuff is what shoots in the ability for this weapon system to work. That is why I kept saying the flat screen TVs with that very dead Russian military man in New Hampshire. That is why I said the flat screen TVs in Wall Street when they were trying to take over Wall Street and run this weapon system. That is why I said Congress and Senate. The Congress and Senate in those two buildings, the Senate and Congressional building, are still up and running. They set that same system up in the Vatican. They have the same operating system is running in the Vatican, okay? It's military equipment. Okay, it works hand in hand with cable providers. That is why I always put up, I used to do it a lot more, but it still comes up, cable providers. Various news channels that pump news. That is why I put up the daughter of Obama was literally engaged in active warfare trying to strike violently through this weapon system, her own country. She's walking dead. One of the two daughters. It's her choice. Little NBC News girl. Media girl. She wants to attack my country. Okay, got her nowhere. She's one of 1,000 of these type of people that work in the camera aspect of this. It's to film, to shoot it off to the sats, but the huge component is this. So when everybody tunes in, you and your whole neighborhood are tuning in to something on TV. It zaps, it charges that sat, all that ground currency running through the fiber optics and the other cables. There's not just fiber optics, but that's a big one. On the ground, you got the satellite, and it charges the center points, the vessels that are in the water, and some of the vessels that are capable of shooting missiles from space. It charges them. These are my words, but this is made clear. Okay? It is a weapon system developed to strike ground targets with weapons that are catastrophic with no announcing it. You don't know how they got their gear going. There's no signals that can be seen. It's stealth. These are catastrophic weapons capable of killing millions at a time. The United States has been using these weapons ever since 2017. It was developed before that, but it was developed for the attack. By the time I came into this terrorist cell, Donald Trump was a knowledgeable player in this. He had knowledge of these weapon systems, and he tried to hijack it. And this one reason why he hijacked this terrorist cell, when the agents who set it up told these fucking executives in that administration and Donald Trump to back off. These are very evil people, but they told him, don't hijack this shit here. Well, you told a mafioso what to do, good luck. The Biden administration with Vladimir Putin, hand in hand, holding tight their hands together, continued to hold this terrorist cell and that weapon system safe. So through the Biden and now the Trump administration, they've been trying to use that weapon system. So this is what happened, okay? The IDF struck the nuclear sites. Trump knew not to go on TV, not only because it brings down the United States legally, because he's a terrorist and he's attacking the United States on a regular basis, violently through weapons of mass destruction and through terrorism. Not only that he's a murderer, along with Biden, he's a cold-hearted, clocked, registered and convicted murderer, but that he used the weapon system. Those guys on TV are strung out and high. Go rewind and watch when they came waddling out onto the TV that night to announce how they did this when they never did it. They attacked Iran. They didn't even know it was fucking happening. They were not supposed to go on TV. They're sweaty and high. Go look at them. But why they went on TV is this. Because they ignited, charged, used up, started using the weapon system that's in the Capitol building, that's at the National Monument, that's in the Vatican. And they try to set it up in certain pocket areas all over the planet. That's why you'll see me on houses. Never mind. We'll talk about it later. They run it through areas. So what he did is he knows everybody's going to flick their TV and turn it on. You're going to have huge pockets of the population flicking their TV and turning it on. And that charge from Verizon, there's a few of these places, companies. That charge sends off the sats and what I just explained. And then what he did after that, he went straight to India. Donald stayed up really late that night, and he's already delirious, and he's already high, and he's completely crazy and completely incompetent. He didn't know what he was doing. He went straight to India that night. And he's using the Indian missiles. But they're not getting anywhere. They're not getting anywhere, okay? They can't get them to go off. This is the thing. Now that Iran just struck its big fake attack, Iran just struck their own buddies in a fake attack in response, which is fake, to actually beneficially being hit by the good military. When they did that, which is a matter of, half an hour ago, they still don't realize that they're flat screens in Congress, they're flat screens in the Vatican, they're flat screens right there on their illegal bases. They're not sending off those signals to India. That's why you'll see me in places just out of nowhere. Here, I'm in India. I actually had to wait till the next day to go to India. I knew when I went to bed he was fucking around in India. Why does it not work for Donald Trump, no matter where he goes, to set up his illegal weapons and missile launches? It doesn't work in New York City. It doesn't work in India because he's not competent, and no one at the Pentagon is competent. They lost those people. Also, it's a foreign weapons system. They rely on Putin, and they've been bombed to bits there, and they get a lot more coming. Russia's fucking toast. The destruction in Russia, I'm going to be thrilled. I haven't seen enough yet. It's you know, if you want to reflect on Russian history, Russian people, when they try to revolt and attack their own communist military, they get what they deserve. These Russian people decided they wanted to be Americans with the oligarchs, and they all die in utter bombs and destruction because of it. Nothing has happened yet in Russia like what they've got coming. Okay, so I would say any minute now they're going to realize there's no fake weapons coming out of India. Okay? They can't get them to go off in India. They can't get them to go off in any other water vessels. And this is why I get so upset. I'm not saying I wouldn't keep the good military alive, these human beings who have souls, but we're in war, and it is required of them being in the military to do something. And I have yet, for 7 years, I still wait, and I have given up waiting. I do not think any of you ever will. And what the good men and women in the military have done so far is nothing to what needs to be done. And I do not believe they ever will take any action. What I believe is that we will spend the rest of our lives doing the same crap every day. And the anger and resentment and disappointment I have is like none other than I've ever lived in my life. I will continue to keep doing my part to keep the good men and women in the good military alive so they can spend it with their families. But you have not only let me down, you have let God above down. And what was called upon you, you never did it. So you go ahead and you keep Trump, the Ayatollah, Xi, Kim Jong, Putin, you keep everyone you can name off the top of your head, and you keep all their people and all the terrorists that are running with them, and all the people like these scumbags, the babies are us, that keep strolling past this house. You go ahead, good military, and you keep them right here because you are responsible for that. I have no thanks for you anymore. I have nothing to say to any of you for the rest of my life on earth. For the public, that is a general synopsis of how this weapons system works. You get a cul-de-sac, you get a group of people in a suburb, wherever it is, a populated area, and they all turn those sats on. They're all turning that same TV show as the best one. One same program, and it just goes straight up into the sats in orbit, and it just charges, and all the numbers and digits and electric currents and everything, I can't describe it, start to operate those weapons of mass destruction to come right back down from orbit or come up from the water, and they were all sent a la carte to you from Donald Trump. And the motherfucker is still sitting down the street from me. And nobody does a thing about him. They were all sent to you, these illegal weapons and missiles, a la carte from the Ayatollah Iranian Guard. And nothing is done to any of these people. I've waited too long. 7 years, I'm finished. There's no more waiting. I have nothing to say to anyone for the rest of my life on Earth. That's your synopsis of how these work. Now, what Donald did since he came back into the White House is they reamped their illegal weapon system. It comes out of Russia. It's Vladimir Putin. It's Russian military. This is why someday, maybe, I'm not waiting anymore. They bomb the living shit out of Russia for this, okay? The Bitcoin, the crypto, it runs on a separate channel than your regular Wall Street finance. It's a huge energy electrical line, and it's primo for these channels to run their missile signals through. So he went to India. Donald Trump did. He was down the street when he did it. He went to India right away after they got on the TV. And then the following day, they tried to hook it up with New York City big time. And it was through the Bitcoin and the crypto channels. And that didn't work either. Then Iran does a fake strike back at their own fucking military, U.S. traitors to the United States, safe and sound, sitting in the Middle East, smoking crack with the Saudi Arabian president. And then after that, they'll realize, look, our channels aren't working. Our Bitcoin isn't working. We didn't realize it soon enough. They knew it yesterday that their Bitcoin and their cryptocurrencies weren't working. And there's a huge group of NYPD that fucking bailed out of New York. They're not coming back to New York. They're in upstate New York now. Why'd they bail? What did I fucking say about New York? But I don't believe anything will happen anymore. The day the good military, if it even happens in my lifetime, ever does anything to defend my life, your life at home, or their own fucking country, I praise God. I am never, as long as I'm alive, breathing, ever going to wait for anyone to do anything this long, ever again. As far as I'm concerned, they never will, folks, so stop waiting. Yeah, it's cause for concern. Fuck it. I'm done waiting. They're not going to do anything. Fuck it. The Bitcoin and the crypto failed yesterday. The India and all these currencies, they'll do something to go on TV too. This will be one to go on TV. Everybody's tuning in. Send strikes to a base. Okay, so this explains it, all right? I couldn't cram it in 13 minutes. I'll put it in the title so you can read it. Hopefully you'll listen. I'm done explaining this shit to you. Is how a lot of this works. It's not the entire ordeal. It's a synopsis. It's really frightening. A lot of it, a huge part of it, comes straight from your sats. Every time you flick that shit on at home, it goes straight up, starts to charge, and then those missiles can come right fucking back down. The signal channels go like this. It starts in the ground, it goes up from your house, all you turning that TV on, and then it goes back down to like hundreds of thousands of homes, those channels, and then it starts to really churn on the ground. And that's when you get into the roads and stuff that I show. And then from the roads, it's not completely an entirety of how this works, but from the roads, then it signals off to those missiles, and then that's when they can finally strike and just start killing people. Your lovely white ones and your lovely Arab ones, who to this day no one has done a thing about. I don't believe you ever will. I personally, if I can, will kill Xi. Xi, if I can, I will personally, with my bare hands, murder you. Don't come around me, Xi. You've been warned.